Humanity was exiled from the Galactic Council. 10 years later, they returned with fleets. The stars above the Galactic Council burned with cold blue light. Thousands of alien ships floated around the giant station called Nexus Prime for almost 200 years. This station controlled peace across the galaxy. Every powerful alien race had a seat inside the council. Every race except humanity. Humans were gone, or at least, that was what the galaxy believed. 10 years earlier, Earth had been destroyed during the Great Judgment War. The council called humans dangerous, violent, and impossible to control. They said humanity brought chaos wherever they went. Human soldiers broke battle rules. Human scientists created forbidden weapons. Human captains never surrendered. The council feared them. So the council made a choice. Humanity would be erased forever. The war lasted only 6 days. 6 terrible days that changed the galaxy forever. Millions died when alien fleets attacked Earth from orbit. Entire cities disappeared under firestorms. The oceans boiled. The skies turned black, and then silence. After the war, the council announced that humanity was extinct. No human ships were seen again. No human signals were heard. No colonies answered any calls. For 10 years, the galaxy moved on, but on the edge of known space, far beyond council territory, something was waiting. Deep inside a dark nebula, thousands of lights slowly appeared. Ship engines. Massive human war fleets floated silently in the darkness. Ships bigger than mountains moved through space like sleeping giants. Their metal hulls carried battle scars. Their weapons glowed with dangerous red energy. And at the center of the fleet stood one enormous flagship, the HFS Retribution. Inside the command bridge, Admiral Marcus Kane stood quietly while looking at the stars. His face looked older now, harder, colder. A scar crossed his left eye, a memory from the war Earth had lost. Around him, human officers worked silently. No one laughed, no one smiled. For 10 years, humanity had hidden in deep space. For 10 years they rebuilt. The council believed humans were dead, but the survivors escaped before Earth fell. Secret colony ships traveled beyond the galaxy maps. There, humanity changed. They built new worlds inside asteroid belts, hidden factories near dead stars, secret shipyards inside nebulous storms. Every child born during those years learned one thing. The galaxy betrayed humanity, and now, humanity was coming back. A young officer stepped toward Admiral Kane. "Sir," he said carefully, "the fleets are ready." Kane stayed silent for a moment. Then he looked at the giant hologram floating in the center of the bridge. It showed the entire galaxy. Hundreds of alien worlds glowed across the map. At the center stood Nexus Prime, the heart of the Galactic Council. Kane's eyes narrowed. 10 years ago, he said slowly, they called humanity weak. The bridge became completely silent. They burned our homes, he continued. They hunted our people, and they thought fear would destroy us. His voice grew colder, but fear changed us. The officers listened carefully. "We are not the same civilization they attacked 10 years ago." Kane said, "We learned." Outside the flagship windows, thousands of human warships slowly powered their weapons. Red lights spread across the darkness like fire. The fleet looked endless. One officer whispered quietly, almost unable to believe it himself, "The council has no idea we survived." Kane finally turned toward his crew. "That is why we win," he answered. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the bridge. A communication officer looked shocked. "Sir, we are detecting council patrol ships entering the nebula." Kane walked toward the main screen. 3 small alien ships appeared on the display. Council scouts. They moved carefully through the nebula storm, completely unaware of what waited ahead. One young officer asked nervously, "Should we destroy them?" Kane stayed silent again, then slowly. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who waited 10 years for this moment. "No," Kane said calmly. "Let them see us." The entire bridge looked toward him in surprise. Kane's eyes locked onto the screen. "They wanted humanity erased," he said. "Now let the galaxy remember why they feared us." Outside the nebula, the 3 alien patrol ships suddenly stopped moving. Their crews stared into the darkness ahead, because one by one, thousands of human warships began appearing from the storm. An endless wall of steel, weapons, and burning red lights filled space itself. The alien captains froze in terror. One of them whispered with a shaking voice, "That's impossible." Then the human fleet began moving toward Council space, and for the first time in 10 years, humanity returned to the galaxy. The 3 Council patrol ships escaped the nebula at maximum speed. Their engines screamed under the pressure, while emergency signals spread across nearby systems. Inside the lead ship, Captain Ralvek could barely breathe. His 4 silver eyes stayed locked on the terrifying images recorded by his scanners. Thousands of human warships, massive carriers, heavy destroyers, weapons larger than entire buildings, and all of them moving together like a single unstoppable force. His hands shook as he sent the message directly to Nexus Prime. "Emergency alert," he said quickly. "Humanity is alive." For a few seconds, silence answered him. Then the command center of Nexus Prime exploded into chaos. Council leaders rushed through giant halls filled with floating holograms. Military officers shouted orders. Security alarms echoed across the station. News channels activated across the galaxy. Most citizens believed it was impossible. Humanity was extinct. Everyone knew that. The Council itself had announced it 10 years earlier. But now fear spread faster than light, because the patrol ships carried proof. Inside the Council chamber, the High Chancellor stared at the giant holographic screen in disbelief. The old alien leader looked pale under the blue chamber lights. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien races argued loudly. "This must be fake," one senator shouted. "No extinct race builds fleets like this." Another answered nervously. A military commander stepped forward. "We confirmed the signal," he said. "The ships are real." The room became silent. Then another officer spoke carefully. "There's something worse." The Chancellor looked toward him. "What?" The officer activated another hologram. It showed the human fleet moving through the nebula, but behind the warships. More signals appeared. Factories, supply stations, mining colonies, hidden military worlds. The officer swallowed hard before speaking again. They were preparing for war this entire time. Fear slowly spread across every face in the chamber. For 10 years, humanity had not been hiding. They had been building an empire in secret, far away from Nexus Prime. On the frozen mining planet Korath 9, a human girl stood beside an old communication tower. Snowstorms covered the empty planet in white ice. The colony was small, forgotten by the galaxy. Only workers and refugees lived there now. The girl's name was Lyra. She was only 14 years old. She had never seen Earth. She only heard stories about it from her grandfather. Stories about oceans, forests, birds, and cities full of lights. To her generation, Earth felt like a legend. Suddenly, the old radio beside her made a strange sound. Static filled the air. Then a voice appeared, weak but clear. "This is Admiral Marcus Kane to all human colonies." Lyra froze. The voice continued across the storm. "The time of hiding is over." Workers across the colony stopped moving. People slowly gathered around speakers and radios. Some looked shocked. Some looked afraid. Others looked hopeful for the first time in years. Kane's voice echoed again. 10 years ago, the galaxy tried to erase us. But humanity survived, and today, we take back our future. Tears slowly filled the old workers' eyes. Many of them lost families during the destruction of Earth. Many believed they would spend the rest of their lives hiding in darkness. But now something had changed. Hope returned, back inside the HFS Retribution. Admiral Kane watched the galaxy map carefully. Human fleets continued moving toward Council territory. No ship spoke unnecessarily. Every soldier understood the importance of this moment. A female officer approached Kane quietly. "Sir," she said, "Council fleets are mobilizing near the border." Kane nodded slowly. "They are afraid," he answered. The officer hesitated before speaking again. "There is another problem." Kane looked at her. "The Council opened old war files," she explained. "They are preparing to release classified footage from the Earth War. For the first time, Kane's expression darkened. He remembered those final days clearly. Burning cities, dead civilians, children trapped under ruins. The Council told the galaxy humanity started the war. But the truth was very different. Humanity did not attack first. Humanity only defended itself. Kane looked toward the stars outside the bridge window. "The truth is finally coming," he said quietly. At that same moment, deep inside Nexus Prime, a hidden figure watched the emergency broadcasts alone. The room was dark except for the glowing screen ahead. The figure wore a black military cloak marked with an old human symbol. A symbol banned across the galaxy. Slowly, the figure smiled. Then activated a private transmission. "The humans have returned," the figure whispered. A distorted voice answered from the shadows. "Good. Phase 2 can finally begin." The transmission ended immediately. And somewhere inside the Galactic Council itself, a secret human agent was already waiting. The people of the galaxy could not stop watching the broadcasts. Every screen, every news station, every public channel showed the same terrifying image. Human war fleets crossing the stars. Some worlds entered full panic. Others locked their spaceports. Many civilians rushed to underground shelters. For 10 years, humanity had become a ghost story told to children. Now the ghost was real again. Inside Nexus Prime, fear spread through the giant station like a disease. Council guards filled every hallway. Warships surrounded the station. Emergency meetings continued without rest. But hidden deep inside the station, someone moved quietly through the shadows. A human, Agent Elias Ward, walked calmly through a maintenance corridor while alarms echoed far away. He wore a dark engineer uniform stolen from station workers. No one looked at him twice. That was the dangerous thing about humans. The galaxy always underestimated them. Elias stopped beside a locked security door. He pulled out a small device no larger than his hand. Blue lights flashed once. The heavy door opened silently. Inside the room stood rows of ancient data servers connected directly to the Council archives. This was the most protected information center in the galaxy, and humanity already had a man inside it. Elias activated his communicator quietly. "Ghost entering the archive room," he whispered, far away aboard the HFS Retribution. Admiral Kane answered immediately. "Proceed." Elias moved toward the central terminal. His fingers worked quickly across the controls. Lines of classified files appeared on the screen. War records, military orders, council secrets. Then he found it. Operation Silence, the true file about Earth. Elias opened the document slowly. His face hardened while reading. Everything humanity suspected was true. The Council never feared human violence. They feared human potential. 10 years earlier, human scientists discovered something powerful near the edge of explored space. An ancient alien technology hidden inside a dead star system. A technology older than the Council itself. The device could change space travel forever. Whoever controlled it would control the galaxy. Humanity wanted to study it peacefully, but the Council panicked. If humans became stronger, the balance of power would break, so the Council created lies. They blamed humanity for attacks they never committed. They spread fear across alien worlds. Then they used that fear to justify war. Earth was not destroyed for justice. Earth was destroyed because the Council was afraid. Elias clenched his fists angrily. Millions died because of politics and fear. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the room. Elias quickly hid beside the servers. The door opened. 2 Council security officers entered carefully. "You heard the rumors?" One guard asked nervously. "The human fleets?" The second guard nodded. "My brother serves near the border," he answered. "They say the humans have weapons stronger than anything we've seen." The first guard laughed weakly. "That's impossible." Before the second guard could answer, Elias moved silently behind them. One fast strike. Both guards collapsed unconscious onto the floor. Elias grabbed the data chip from the terminal and activated his communicator again. "Kane," he whispered, "I found the truth." The Admiral's voice became serious immediately. "Can you send it?" "No," Elias answered while checking the hallway. "The station firewall is blocking all transmissions." Then bring it home, King replied. Elias nodded once. But suddenly, the lights across the corridor turned red. An automated voice echoed through the station. Security breach detected in Sector 7. Elias cursed quietly under his breath. They found me. Back on the Retribution, officers rushed across the bridge. Sir, one officer shouted, Nexus Prime detected our agent. Kane looked toward the giant star map, thinking quickly. If Elias was captured, the Council would learn humanity had infiltrated the station years ago. That could destroy everything. Prepare diversion fleets. Kane ordered immediately. The bridge officers looked confused. Diversion? Kane nodded. We are going to knock on the Council's front door. Minutes later, warning sirens exploded across Nexus Prime again. But this time the threat came from outside. Thousands of human ships suddenly appeared near the outer defense lines of the station. Massive engines burned red across the darkness of space. Council commanders panicked instantly. All fleets moved to defense positions. Protect Nexus Prime. Prepare all weapons. The entire station focused on the human fleet outside. Exactly as Kane planned, inside the chaos, Elias ran through crowded maintenance tunnels while security teams searched nearby sectors. Blaster fire echoed behind him. He turned sharply into another corridor, breathing hard, then suddenly stopped. A woman stood ahead waiting for him calmly. She wore the white uniform of a Council intelligence officer, but on her wrist was a tiny hidden symbol, the old symbol of Earth. Elias stared at her carefully. You're human, he whispered. The woman smiled slightly. So are half the spies inside this station. She answered. Elias looked shocked. The woman stepped closer. You think humanity spent 10 years only building ships? She asked quietly. No, we built networks. She handed him a small access card. This path leads to the escape docks, she explained. But move quickly. Elias grabbed the card. Who are you? He asked. The woman's expression became cold. Someone who watched Earth burn. She answered softly. Then she disappeared back into the shadows. Far outside Nexus Prime, human war fleets slowly surrounded the station like wolves closing around prey. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council realized humanity's revenge had already begun years ago. Red warning lights flashed across Nexus Prime, while human fleets surrounded the station from every direction. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt helpless. The same council that once controlled entire star systems now sat trapped behind defense shields, and humanity had not even fired a single shot yet. Inside the council chamber, panic grew worse every minute. Military leaders argued loudly. Senators blamed each other. Emergency messages flooded every screen. The human fleets keep increasing. One commander reported nervously. That's impossible, another answered. Our scanners already counted over 12,000 ships. But the numbers continued rising. Every hour, more human fleets appeared from deep space. It was like humanity had prepared for this moment their entire lives. High Chancellor Verena stood silently at the center of the chamber. The old alien leader looked exhausted now. He remembered the day the Council voted to destroy Earth. At that time, he believed humanity was too dangerous to survive. Now he was no longer sure who the real monsters were. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened violently. A wounded officer rushed inside, breathing hard. Sir, he shouted. We lost contact with Outpost Sigma. The room became silent instantly. Outpost Sigma protected one of the Council's secret research zones. Only the highest leaders knew its location. Verena stepped forward carefully. What happened? The officer activated a damaged hologram recording. Static filled the air before the image finally cleared. Everyone inside the chamber froze. A giant black planet appeared on the screen, hidden inside endless storms. Around the planet floated broken Council warships, destroyed, completely destroyed. Then another object slowly appeared from the clouds below, a massive human structure. Bigger than entire cities, the senators stared in horror. Because the structure was not a ship, it was a shipyard. An entire hidden world used to build war fleets. Thousands of human ships surrounded the planet like metal insects. Factories covered the surface. Weapons platforms floated in orbit. Gigantic defense cannons pointed toward space. One senator whispered in fear, "How long have they been building this?" No one answered. Then the recording suddenly shook violently. Human warships attacked the outpost directly. Bright red energy beams tore through Council defenses like paper. The final seconds of the recording showed something even worse. A human symbol painted across the largest station above the planet. The symbol read, "New Earth." Back aboard the HFS Retribution, Admiral Kane watched the same footage quietly. The bridge officers waited for his reaction. One young commander finally spoke. "Sir, the Council discovered New Earth." Kane nodded slowly. "It was only a matter of time," he answered. New Earth was humanity's greatest secret. A hidden planet built after Earth's destruction. Not just a colony, a fortress. Everything humanity lost 10 years ago had been rebuilt there. Cities, schools, families, factories, military academies. It became the heart of the human resistance. But now the Council knew it existed. An officer approached Kane carefully. "There's more," she said quietly. She activated another screen. The image showed millions of human civilians across New Earth. Children running through crowded streets, workers building ships, families watching news broadcasts together. Kane stared silently at the screen. For years he protected this world from the shadows. Because New Earth was not only humanity's future, it was humanity's last chance. Suddenly another alarm echoed across the bridge. "Emergency transmission from Border Fleet." An officer shouted. The main screen changed instantly. A damaged human cruiser appeared surrounded by fire and explosions. Its captain looked terrified. "Admiral Kane," the captain said quickly, "unknown ships attacked our outer defense line." Kane's expression darkened. "Council ships?" The captain shook his head immediately. "No, sir." The bridge became silent. Then the captain continued carefully. "We don't recognize their technology." At that moment, strange black ships appeared behind the damaged cruiser. Their designs looked nothing like Council fleets. Sharp edges, dark metal hulls, glowing white symbols across their surface. Then without warning, the transmission suddenly cut off. The human cruiser disappeared in a massive explosion. Silence filled the bridge. One officer whispered nervously, "Who are they?" Kane looked toward the frozen image of the black ships. For the first time since humanity returned, he looked worried because he recognized them. Very slowly, he spoke only 2 words, "The Harvesters." Several officers looked confused, but the older commanders immediately turned pale. The Harvesters were not part of the Galactic Council. They were older than the Council, older than most civilizations in the galaxy, ancient machines from deep space. Legends said they destroyed entire species before disappearing back into darkness. Most people believed they were only myths, but Kane knew the truth. 10 years earlier, human explorers discovered ancient harvester ruins near the Dead Star System. That discovery was the real reason Earth was destroyed. The Council feared the technology, but they also feared waking the harvesters themselves. And now, someone had awakened them. Suddenly another transmission appeared on the bridge. This one came from New Earth itself. A frightened officer spoke quickly through the screen. "Sir, long-range scanners detected hundreds of unknown ships moving toward the planet." Kane stood completely still. "How long until arrival?" he asked quietly. The officer swallowed hard before answering. 6 hours. Across the bridge, fear spread silently among the crew. Humanity had prepared 10 years for war against the Council. But this enemy was something far worse, and deep in space, hidden inside endless darkness, thousands of ancient black ships slowly moved toward humanity's new home. The skies above New Earth turned dark with warships. Human defense fleets filled orbit around the planet, while civilians rushed into underground shelters. Emergency sirens echoed through every city. Children cried, families prayed, soldiers prepared for battle. For 10 years, humanity feared this exact moment. Not the return of the Galactic Council, the return of the Harvesters. Inside the underground military command center of New Earth, giant holograms covered the walls. Thousands of enemy ships moved slowly across the display like a black ocean. No one on the command staff spoke loudly anymore. Even experienced officers looked nervous now. Admiral Marcus Kane entered the room while military leaders stood immediately. One commander pointed toward the hologram. "The enemy fleet doubled in size," she reported. "Estimated arrival time is now 4 hours." Kane studied the strange ship formations carefully. The harvesters moved differently than normal fleets. No wasted motion, no communication signals, no fear. Like machines following ancient orders, because that was exactly what they were. One young officer finally asked the question everyone feared. "Can we stop them?" Silence filled the room. Then Kane answered honestly, "I don't know." The room became colder after those words. Humanity survived the Council, survived exile, survived near extinction. But the harvesters destroyed civilizations far stronger than humanity. Suddenly the doors opened. A woman wearing a dark science uniform entered quickly, Dr. Elena Reyes. One of humanity's greatest scientists. And one of the few people who knew humanity's darkest secret. "Elena," Kane said seriously, "tell them." The officers looked confused while Elena activated another hologram. An image of a strange silver object appeared above the table. It looked small, simple, harmless, but several officers immediately recognized it from classified files. One commander stepped backward in shock. "No," he whispered. Elena nodded slowly. "The Genesis core," she confirmed. Fear spread across the room instantly. The Genesis core was the ancient alien technology humanity discovered 10 years earlier. The same discovery that caused Earth's destruction. The same secret the Council killed millions to hide. One officer looked horrified. "You said it was destroyed." Kane answered this time. "We lied." The room exploded with angry voices. "You kept this hidden? That thing caused the war. It's too dangerous." Kane slammed his hand onto the table hard enough to silence everyone. "Yes," he said coldly. "It is dangerous." The hologram rotated slowly above them. Elena spoke carefully. "The Genesis core was built by a civilization older than the harvesters. It can control gravitational energy on a massive scale." One officer frowned. "What does that mean exactly?" Elena looked directly at him. "It can destroy entire fleets." The room became silent again. Then she continued quietly. "But there's a problem." Kane's face darkened slightly. "The core is unstable." Elena explained. "If we overload it, the explosion could destroy everything near New Earth." Several officers stared at her in disbelief. "You're talking about destroying our own planet," one whispered. "No," King answered firmly. "I'm talking about saving our species." Far above New Earth, human fleets prepared defensive formations. Massive cannons rotated toward deep space. Fighter squadrons launched from carriers. Shield generators powered across orbit. Every human soldier understood this battle might decide humanity's future forever. Then suddenly, long-range scanners detected movement. The harvesters arrived early. Black ships emerged from hyperspace across the entire star system. Not hundreds, thousands. Their appearance alone seemed unnatural. Space itself distorted around them. Several young officers aboard nearby human ships froze in fear. The enemy fleet stretched farther than scanners could measure. Then every screen across the human fleet changed suddenly. A strange white symbol appeared, followed by a cold mechanical voice. "Biological civilization detected. Harvest cycle beginning." The message repeated again and again across every frequency. Human soldiers exchanged nervous looks. One pilot whispered quietly, "They don't even see us as people." Then without warning, the harvesters attacked. White energy beams tore across space, instantly destroying 3 human destroyers. Explosions lit the darkness around New Earth. Human fleets answered immediately. Red plasma fire filled orbit while thousands of ships collided in brutal combat. The war began with terrifying speed. Inside Command Center, officers shouted updates constantly. Defense Line 3 collapsing. Civilian transports leaving the surface. Enemy ships penetrating lower orbit. Kane watched everything silently. Then another officer screamed, "Sir!" "They're heading directly toward the core chamber." Kane's expression changed instantly. "That was impossible." The core's location was humanity's greatest secret. No alien should know where it was hidden, unless someone told them. At that exact moment, security alarms exploded across the underground base. A voice echoed through every hallway. Warning: internal breach detected. Unknown hostile presence inside facility. Kane turned toward the security screen, then froze. Several black armored figures moved through the underground corridors, killing guards with impossible speed. Not Harvesters, humans. One officer whispered in shock. Traitors. Then the camera focused on the leader of the attackers, a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. Kane recognized him immediately. General Victor Hall, a war hero believed dead during the fall of Earth. But Halle was alive, and he was leading the enemy directly toward humanity's forbidden weapon. Explosions shook the underground base while emergency lights flashed red across every corridor. Gunfire echoed through the command center as human soldiers rushed to stop the traitors. Above New Earth, the battle in orbit became pure chaos. Human ships burned across the sky. Harvester fleets pushed closer to the planet. Defense stations exploded one after another. For the first time since humanity returned, defeat felt possible inside the underground facility. Admiral Kane stared at the security screen, showing General Victor Halle moving toward the Genesis core chamber. Halle walked calmly through the smoke while loyal soldiers followed behind him. Anyone who resisted died instantly. One officer looked shocked. Sir, why would Halle betray us? Kane's face hardened, because Halle stopped believing humanity could survive. He answered quietly. Years earlier, Victor Halle was one of humanity's greatest military commanders. He fought during the fall of Earth, saved thousands of civilians, and watched entire cities burn around him. But something inside him changed after the war. Halle believed humanity would always be hunted while weaker than the galaxy around them. And when he discovered the true power of the Genesis core, he became obsessed. He no longer wanted humanity to survive. He wanted humanity to rule. Suddenly the command center doors burst open. Wounded soldiers rushed inside carrying injured civilians from nearby sectors. One child cried while smoke filled the hallway behind them. The Harvesters were already breaking through the outer defense tunnels. They were coming underground. Dr. Elena Reyes looked toward Kane urgently. We're running out of time, she said. Kane nodded slowly, then made the hardest decision of his life. Prepare the core, he ordered. Several officers froze in shock. Sir, if we activate it at full power... I know, Kane interrupted. The room became silent. Everyone understood what the order meant. The Genesis core could destroy the Harvester fleet. But New Earth might not survive the explosion either. Far above the planet, Captain Sophia Laurent commanded the human flagship Valor. Her ship shook violently as enemy fire crashed against its shields. Multiple Harvester ships approaching from the eastern sector, an officer shouted. Shields at 30%. Sophia looked through the bridge window at the nightmare outside. The sky itself looked on fire. Human fighters exploded across orbit while giant Harvester ships pushed closer toward the planet below. Then suddenly, something impossible happened. Several Council warships jumped into the battle. Alien ships. Council banners glowed across their hulls. Human officers stared in disbelief. What are they doing here? One whispered. The answer arrived seconds later through an open transmission. High Chancellor Varenus appeared on the screen. The old alien leader looked tired, but determined. This war threatens the entire galaxy, he said firmly. The Council will fight beside humanity. Sophia could barely believe it. 10 years earlier, these same aliens helped destroy Earth. Now they had returned to save humanity's last world. More Council fleets arrived behind them. Thousands of alien ships entered the battle against the Harvesters. For the first time, the ancient machines actually slowed their advance. Back underground, Kane and Elena reached the Genesis core chamber. The giant silver device floated in the center of the room, surrounded by glowing energy rings. Its light reflected across the walls like liquid stars. General Halle already waited there. His soldiers aimed weapons toward Kane immediately. Halle smiled coldly. You're too late, he said calmly. Kane stepped forward slowly. You betrayed your own people. Hawley shook his head. No, he answered. I'm saving them. He pointed toward the core. With this power, humanity can control the galaxy forever. Elena looked horrified. That thing isn't a weapon. She warned, it's unstable. Hawley laughed quietly. Every great power looks dangerous to weak people. Suddenly the entire chamber shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling while alarms screamed across the base. A harvester dreadnought had reached the surface directly above them. Time was running out. Kane looked at Hawley one final time. You still don't understand humanity, he said softly. Hawley frowned slightly. Kane continued. Humanity was never strong because of weapons. It was strong because we protected each other. Then Kane pulled his sidearm and fired. The chamber exploded into gunfire. Soldiers rushed for cover while energy blasts filled the room. Elena ran toward the core controls during the chaos. Hawley survived the first shot and attacked Kane directly. The two old commanders crashed against the floor in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Years of anger exploded between them. Outside the chamber, terrifying mechanical sounds echoed through the hallway. The harvesters had entered the base. Metal footsteps grew louder every second. Inside orbit, human and council fleets continued fighting together desperately. But more enemy ships kept arriving. The galaxy's final battle had begun. Back inside the chamber, Hawley grabbed Kane by the throat violently. You're condemning humanity to extinction. Hawley shouted. Kane struggled for breath, then looked directly into Hale's eyes. No, he whispered painfully. I'm giving humanity a future. At that exact moment, Elena activated the Genesis core. Blinding silver light exploded across the chamber, and deep in space above New Earth, every ship suddenly lost power at the exact same time. Silence covered the battlefield above New Earth. For one impossible moment, every ship in orbit stopped moving. Human fleets, council warships, even the ancient harvesters, all engines died at the same time. The stars themselves seemed frozen. Then the Genesis core awakened completely. A massive wave of silver energy exploded outward from New Earth like a second sun. The light spread across space faster than any weapon ever created. Human soldiers covered their eyes. Alien commanders watched in fear. Entire fleets drifted helplessly in the glowing storm. Inside the underground chamber, Admiral Kane slowly stood from the broken floor while silver light surrounded him. General Hawley stared at the core in shock. It's impossible, he whispered. The machine floating above them no longer looked like technology. It looked alive. Ancient symbols rotated across its surface while energy filled the chamber like liquid fire. Dr. Elena Reyes checked the unstable readings desperately. The core is reacting to the harvester systems, she shouted. Kane looked toward her. What does that mean? Elena swallowed nervously. I think. She paused. I think the harvesters were never controlling it. Before anyone could answer, a deep voice suddenly echoed across the chamber. Not mechanical, not human, something older. Command authority detected. Everyone froze instantly. The silver light above the core slowly formed into a giant holographic figure. Tall, glowing, ancient, its face carried no emotion. General Hawley stepped backward in fear. What is that? The figure looked toward them calmly. We are the architects, it answered. Creators of the Genesis core. Kane stared silently while the ancient being continued speaking. Long ago, your galaxy faced extinction. To preserve intelligent life, we created the harvesters. The room became silent. Elena looked horrified. You created those monsters? The figure answered immediately. The harvesters were designed to stop civilizations from becoming too dangerous. But over time, they evolved beyond their purpose. Kane's eyes narrowed. They became executioners. He said coldly. Yes, the architect replied. The silver light around the chamber flickered violently while distant explosions echoed above the planet. The battle outside still continued. The architect looked directly at Kane. Humanity has done what no species achieved before. It said, you survived extinction. You united former enemies. And you chose sacrifice over domination. General Hawley shouted angrily. They are weak. They could rule the galaxy with this power. The architect turned toward Holly slowly. That is why humanity was tested, it answered calmly. Holly grabbed his weapon in desperation, but before he could fire, silver energy wrapped around him instantly. His weapon turned to dust in his hands. The architect's glowing eyes remained fixed on him. Power without wisdom destroys all life, it said. Then Holly disappeared completely. Not killed, simply erased. Back above New Earth, the harvesters suddenly stopped attacking. Their ships drifted motionless across orbit, while silver energy spread through every machine, one by one. The black warships powered down, across human and council fleets. Confused officers watched the impossible happen. The ancient enemy was shutting itself down. Captain Sophia Lawrence stared at the battlefield in disbelief. "Report," she ordered quickly. An officer checked the scanners repeatedly, unable to believe the readings. "The Harvester network collapsed," he whispered. "They're no longer hostile." Cheers slowly spread across the bridge. Some soldiers laughed, others cried in relief. After 10 years of fear, war, and survival, humanity was finally free. Inside the core chamber, the architect faced Kane one final time. "The future of this galaxy now belongs to its people," it said. "The cycle has ended." Kane looked toward the glowing core carefully. "What happens now?" he asked. The architect's form slowly began fading into light. "That choice belongs to humanity," it answered. Then the chamber became silent again. The core dimmed slowly. The ancient presence disappeared forever. Hours later, fires still burned across New Earth while rescue teams searched ruined cities and damaged stations. The cost of victory was enormous. Thousands were dead, entire fleets destroyed, large parts of the planet heavily damaged. But humanity survived, for the first time in 10 years. Humanity no longer needed to hide. 3 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered aboard Nexus Prime once again. But this meeting was different. Human officers stood proudly beside alien leaders. No chains, no exile orders, no fear. High Chancellor Varinus slowly approached Admiral Kane before the entire council. The old alien leader lowered his head respectfully. "The council was wrong," he admitted quietly. "We feared humanity instead of understanding it." The giant chamber remained silent while millions watched the broadcast across the galaxy. Then Varinus spoke the words no one thought they would ever hear. "Humanity is welcomed back into the Galactic Council." For a moment, Kane said nothing. He remembered Earth, the war, the suffering, the years spent hiding in darkness. Then he looked across the chamber at humans and aliens standing together for the first time. Finally, he answered calmly, "Humanity will return, but this time as equals." And across the galaxy, a new era finally began.